I am Andrew Ryan, and I'm here to ask you a question. Is a man not entitled to the sweat of his brow? No, says the man in Washington, it belongs to the poor. No, says the man in the Vatican, it belongs to God. No, says the man in Moscow, it belongs to everyone. I rejected those answers. Instead, I chose something different. I chose the impossible. I chose rapture. A city where the artist would not fear the censor, where the scientist would not be bound by petty morality, where the great would not be constrained by the small. And with the sweat of your brow, rapture can become your city as well.
Alright, I got a question for you. What makes this turn into this? I don't know. In all honesty, I don't know. However, I do know a fair amount about video games, and one of my favorite video games of all time is Bioshock. A game that questions the player's control in a city that was built upon a free market that is slowly crumbling and killing you along with it. It's one of my favorite games of all time and has really influenced the way that I think about character and agency, but I want to quickly go over how this game is nice looking, but also how it means to the assignment. One of the first facts that I want to go over is visually, this game looks like a lot of books that you've probably read in high school. I'm just going to list a couple out right now. We got Fahrenheit 451, Atlas Shrugged, Animal Farm, and a ton of other examples. Maybe some Catcher in the Rye somewhere. But the reason I bring these up is because there are games that are still doing reference to literature, but only in oh, there's the book kind of way. One of the most famous examples that I can think of is how Cyberpunk used A Farewell to Arms by Ernest Hemingway to commemorate the dead character that you will go to a funeral with. I won't spoil it just in case you've played it, but it was means to an end with a physical implementation of a story. But rarely within just video games, you don't really see any books that are fully one-on-one adapted. Of course, there's stuff like fantasy novels and other stuff that are ripe for the genre, but nothing to the effects of, hey, play 1984 and have a meltdown. But no one want to play that. Instead, Rapture encompasses a bunch of the architectural themes and techniques that were used in many of those dystopian novels, and coming up with something fresh and new. Even for the year that it was released, which was about 2007, 2008, this game was ahead of its time, I tell ya. In relation to the text that we read today, Linda Hutchison points to some guy named Descartes? Something French, I don't know. But he talks about the idea of res extensa, which is essentially the idea of taking the world, material, terminology, and physical dimension and putting it into something interactive through multi-sensory interactivity. She goes on to list a couple of video games that came out at that point of when the article was written, and for Bioshock, it could clearly be no different. The first thing I want to actually introduce is the idea of the character. This is a character named Jack. The only thing he does not talk. He does not talk until the very end of the game. But what does make it important is that it actually creates an idea of agency within the character to insert themselves. I don't know what this idea is called, but the idea of having your character be more interactive within the environment as yourself and not as another character, it creates more of a connective purpose for someone to be interactive with the medium. And of course, Bioshock in this case was an idea first and not a novel first, as I showed before. This is really taking something of a lot of the themes and ideas and adapting them into new mediums while collaging them together. It's like how in fantasy elves can mean one thing but then mean another thing. This idea of overflow that creates people to adapt in their own ways, and then evolve on the concept. As for the combat portions of Bioshock, there's really this idea of mix and match and player freedom within a limited space. There are these things called plasmids, you can shoot powers from them, imagine like you're a wizard, but you also have guns. So essentially you're like, okay, I'm going to take this pike wrench, and then I'm going to take my electro bolt, bam, bam. It's linear, and it creates an end to a fight, but you can also mix and match this. Oh, you have telekinesis, throw an object at somebody, incinerate them, set them on fire. Anything like that that at least gives more player agency that really is cool. A lot of the times people just say games are just like, kill everybody, do whatever, but having agency to say like, okay, these guys are actually trying to kill you, use what you have because you don't have a lot. And of course, late game, that kind of falls off, but the idea of it is so solid that you see this in a lot of games today. And even then, like, is there ever going to be another Bioshock? I ask this because there's always a time in somebody's life when there will be another someone of something. This would be either a song, book, music, anything, because that will only exist as its own central thing in a physical space for the rest of time. Nothing can be replicated from it. It can be adapted, it can be evolved upon, but it always serves as a base of what it was. I think within Bioshock's terms, a lot of things have been built on this base going up. Maybe it's language, it's lingo, stuff about like game mechanics, story notes, themes. Everything has taken some sense from Bioshock. And of course there's been discourse surrounding that, and that goes more into my theory stuff. But Bioshock for me is a game that creates agency even if you know what it's about. Because you go back to something that you read, you already know all the details. But rereading it still gives you that sense of urgency and adventure. And that's why I love Bioshock. After all, look at this place. Look at this, it's beautiful. It's a shithole, but it's beautiful. I'm gonna let some of the footage play out, but I've been Ethan Schott in this. I'll catch you later.